Whether your ideal summer destination is the white sand beaches of Krakoa or the rust-red dust storms of Arakko, toss on some flip-flops and settle in for Arakko Public Radio, episode 39 and day 4 of Shark Girl Week 2023, our week-long celebration of the X-Men and summer break beach vibes. Today, we are talking about all the X-Men comics from the week of May 24th, 2023, as we continue the trudge to the fall of X. I'm not Nerdy Papa Bear, and this is the guy who knows the real war college is predatory student loans, my one and only co-mega mutant, Keegan. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. Just enjoying our week-long celebration of all things Krakoa. How are you doing?
Doing well. I know this is the summer celebration, and depending where you live, a very common part of summer, thunderstorms. So if you hear some clippity claps, that's what that is. Right, my window just shook pretty good right before we logged on. So we'll see what happens. But I'm just that dedicated to this week that I'm risking everything. The whole house could go up in smoke for all I know. In this episode, we are talking New Mutants Lethal Legion number 3, Bishop War College number 4, The X-Cellent number 3, and Storm number 1. But first, we are going to draft our mutant vacation crew. I gave you absolutely no warning about this.
No, none at all.
All right, here's my idea. Imagine a scenario. You get a VW bus, and you get to take 5 mutants that you want with you to the beach.
Okay.
We'll do it snake style, and that'll be our poll question for the episode. They'll all get to decide which of us has the more fun vacation crew.
Okay.
To my mind, there is exactly 2 options that can go in the first round. So I will let you go first if you like.
You're going to let me go first. Okay. My first choice, it's a mutant. When you're on vacation, you want to have, tasty cold treats.
I figured I'd get her as a sleeper. You better not be going there. Round 1.
Round 1 soft serve, baby. Let's go.
You are a sick man. I was definitely going to take her. I wasn't planning on taking her in the first couple rounds, but
I wasn't going to give you a chance. Wasn't even going to give you a chance.
All right. I guess I should be writing these down. Give me 1 second. You bastard.
Yes.
All right. Well, I guess since we're going snake style, I'll take both of the 2 that I thought would go in the first round. I'm going to take Sunspot, Bobby Tagasta, because you need someone to fund that trip, and he's just a fun dude, but mostly fund that trip. And then Nightcrawler, the 2 most fun people to ever step foot on Krakoa.
That's a good one. I like that. I'm
still so mad though. Can't believe you did that to me.
I had to do it. Now let's see. I think that next, because I get to pick 2.
Yeah, you get 2 in a row.
My second pick, who better to set the vibe than the bartender of the Green Lagoon, Blob?
Good call. Your vacation is going to be well fed no matter what.
Yeah, I got drinks and desserts on deck, and then next, I feel like I'm gonna go with Logan himself with his death adamantium surfboard.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm also going Wolverine, but I'm going to take my girl, Laura
Of course.
And then this is my second to last pick. I got one final pick at the very end. So I got to be careful here. I got to make sure I round out the group. So I got my 2 fun guys. I got Laura, who can drink me under the table. You know what? I'm going to take one more fun guy. And I'm going to bend reality a little here. And I'm going to take pre-douchebag Beast. Before he became a douche knuckle.
Yeah, okay. I can accept that.
I do not know if it showed up on camera. My lights just flickered. So who knows what's going to happen?
It did not show up on camera for me, so that'll be interesting.
Your final 2 picks. Round
My
out
final
your party
2.
crew.
Well, so I've got drinks taken care of. I've gotten desserts taken care of. Let's take care of accommodations. Let's bring Forge and have a treehouse for free on the beach.
I like it.
And yeah, he's also my favorite. And you know what? I'm going to take a pick. You're going to hate this pick. I love this pick. I'm going to take little guy himself, Gambit.
Damn that little guy.
He's just a little guy, but I think we could get up to some fun shenanigans, such as handcuffing waitresses to time bombs.
Yeah, you'll see. Your party will end up in jail, and that's okay.
That's a good vacation.
A lot of great parties end up there. So my pick's going to be a very similar strategy to your Forge pick. Probably the X-Men with the most party throwing experience at this point. Give me Emma. Give me Emma Frost.
Oh, ooh. Wow. You know what?
Round out that party bus.
The value of Emma at 5?
I can think of at least one listener who's going to be very upset that Mrs. Irrelevant went to Emma Frost.
Yeah. But you know
All
what?
right.
That's okay. Maybe Emma can end up being the Brock Purdy of Krakoa.
I don't watch football that much anymore, but I grew up a 49ers kid. They're my local team. I do love the Brock Purdy story. It was All right, so to round out or to recap, Keegan's team is Soft Serve Blob, Logan, Forge, and Gambit.
That's a good vacation.
That is a fun party bus. However, on the other lane of the freeway, they're going to look over and wish they were in my party bus, which consists of Bobby DaCosta, Kurt Wagner, Beast before he was a total D-bag, Laura Kinney, and the White Queen herself, Emma Frost.
I'm jealous of that Bobby DaCosta grab. I should have thought of that.
I genuinely thought he's going to take either Nightcrawler or Sunspot, and I'll just take whoever the other one is. That was my strategy walking in. The fact I was able to nab both just because you had to swoop my soft serve, who I do wish, out of everyone you got, she's the one I'm most upset I don't have, but it was worth it. I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
And for me, it was worth it too.
Yeah, I know. You had to successfully screw me over, so. All right. Who want to talk first? I will preamble and say this is genuinely the worst 4-book week I can think of. I've never had this many X-Men books and still walk away saying, like, man, nothing really came out this week, did it?
Yeah. Spoiler alert, I felt almost nothing about this week of books.
I think I will be much more positive than you on one of them, and I will still have my reservations about it, but I'll leave it there.
That's very fair. Yeah, let's just, let's jump into it. Let's go New Mutants first.
All right. New Mutants, Lethal Legion number 3, written by Charlie Jane Anders, drawn by Anid Balam. Opens with Karma, Mirage, and Galura arriving at Count Nefaria's mansion because they used Cerebro like a soccer mom tracking little Susie's iPhone. Where is the trust on this team? Anyway, as they knock on the door, Gabby is thrown out the window and demands her claws back. If you don't remember, Escapade drunkenly stole them at the end of last issue. Escapade and Cerebella find a thing in the mansion that spooks them, and they wish it was just jewels or something to steal. Galura saves Gabby by flying her into a creepy upstairs window, and in the static, Gabby realizes her claws are back. Danny tries talking Count Nefaria into not fighting, but she gets a call from Wolfsbane, who says she's on her way too. We see her, Morgan, and the dragon they tamed last issue traveling to Yonkers, while Nefaria's men try to take down the New Mutants. Morgan and Wolfsbane ride a repurposed Spider Slayer, whose only downside is a TV screen for a head that plays J. Jonah Jameson clips on a loop. Escapade and Cerebella attempt to take their mystery finding outside, but are confronted by Unicorn. By the time everyone escapes, Shella feels boxed out by everyone. Morgan's mad at her, Cerebella's mad at her. Cerebella finally reveals what was in the case. One of Uranos' weapons left over from Judgment Day, the Weird Engine. The final page has their road trip interrupted by the Lethal Legion. Oh, that's where the name comes from. Now it makes sense. Gabby proves in this issue Annie Kenny is the highlight of whatever book she's in.
Yeah, I'll agree to that. I think that she was definitely the best part of this
MVP
book.
by a mile.
Yeah. I want to say that I enjoyed this one the most this week.
Okay. Totally fair take. I was going to say this clearly has all the same issues to me as the last few issues, but I enjoyed it more than the first two of this mini.
Yeah.
I did enjoy this.
And saying that I enjoyed it the most, I mean, it's like, barely any margin with the other books.
Yeah, it wasn't early spoiler, not my favorite book this week. Definitely not like a great book in my opinion, but I would say out of what we've been talking about all week and for a couple of months off and on, these filler minis, I think this is probably the strongest of those filler minis, or among the strongest. Like it
definitely.
It isn't offensive by any means. It's not overly bland. It doesn't move the needle at all.
I think for me it's a thing of like it doesn't do much for me, but I also acknowledge that for New Mutants I am not necessarily the target market.
That is a really good point, and I think I was a little spoiled in that even though I'm not the core demographic, I loved it for a while there. It was really good for the last couple of years, and so I guess I started to lull myself into, oh yeah, I can roll with the teenagers, and then maybe this is showing me I can't.
Right. And I think that's it. Like I acknowledge that there's a lot of good there. Doesn't necessarily do anything for me. I'm not the target market for it, so that's fine. I'm not mad about it being, and to me, being mid. But yeah, it was a fine enough book. I think it still feels like it's kind of not doing anything. But yeah.
And I don't want to recap because I'm sure anyone that's listening to me rant about it here, listening to me saying this last two times, but they don't make it like clearly marketable to anyone because it doesn't follow up on the threads of the last New Mutants enough to feel like a continuation, but it also isn't like a fresh start enough that you can find meaning here without having read the last arc of the last volume of New Mutants, which was the Charlie Jane Anders like guest arc. So it just feels oddly tied down, well, not following up on anything.
It's
a weird combination.
Like a victim of circumstances in that regard. Like I don't think by any means Charlie Jane Anders went into this going like, I want to make a book that doesn't follow up on anything, but also is inaccessible to new readers. Yeah, I don't think that that's what the thesis of this series was. But I think that given the situation that New Mutants was in, especially with the guest arc, and then also like, hey, we need you to fill out some time. That's what we got.
And I think a lot of the issues here are clearly editorial, not Charlie J. Anders. I'm really enjoying the things being written here, and it just feels inconsequential. I do have one beef. And I don't know if you're going to beef with this beef, but the Weird Engine is way too goofy, like word soupy, feels more like a sinister weapon than Uranos. Like Uranos to me is a very different tone than the goofy description we get in that data page.
Yeah. I can definitely agree with that. Like you have your nefarious villains, like your serious, spooky villains, and you have your goofball villains. And the Weird Engine, it sounds like something that Condiment King would use.
Yeah. And I enjoyed the description of the weapon. It just felt really odd to say it was left over from Judgment Day and was Uranos specifically, and like it felt like it was a tie-in for the sake of tie-in, but matched the tone of this book instead of matching the tone of the book the item supposedly came from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you said the word nefarious, which means we got to talk Count Nefaria.
Of course.
I do enjoy the campiness of how serious he's taking recruiting a bunch of minions. Like that is a
Yeah.
really, really funny concept. And I don't know that the execution has been perfect, but we talk about Benjamin Percy needing to go full camp and fully embrace how ridiculous his plots are sometimes. And I feel like Count Nefaria is in that same boat where this only works if Charlie J. Anders writes a crazy enough, serious to the core version of the character, just pure camp, and that's exactly what it's been. So that is another positive. If you look at just the individual pieces, they're all great. It's just for whatever reason they don't come together as they should. And again, it's probably editorial.
Yeah, I definitely can see that too. It's like the bones of something really good are there, or like you took all of the coolest pieces from your 5 favorite Lego sets and jammed them all together. It looks cool, but it doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. It had the better out of the robots we've talked about, like the joke robots we've talked about this Shark Girl Week. I preferred this joke, the Joy Joan Jameson loop over snicked.
I agree completely. Yeah, I mean, I love just like the bit that is J. Jonah Jameson now. Like just the modern interpretation of him is my favorite thing.
You know what I realized while putting together these notes? That because of this book and X-23 Deadly Regenesis and Wolverine and X-Force now having Laura and X-Men having Talon, we have a Wolverine pretty much every week. Wow. There is very rarely a week without a Wolverine being center of attention, and it's almost a Kenny every week.
Almost. You're almost living large.
Like actually on a four Wednesday month, unless they double ship a week, it would be. That's pretty fun. Yeah, you know, nice. You know I love my girl.
That's true. That's very nice. I love that for you.
I got nothing else in Lethal Legion.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Bishop War College.
Yeah.
Written by Jay Holtham, drawn by Sean Damian Hill, it opens with Magic realizing they lost a whole bunch of kids, telling Danny, who is drawn much better here than she was up in New Mutants, there may be a problem. On Earth 63, Bishop is in a full-blown, like, saloon-style shootout with the Human Liberation Front, alone, while he begs his counterpart from this universe to help him fight. Earth 63 Bishop insists, I'm just a teacher, dude. The X-Men show up and fight back until Earth 63 Moira McTaggart activates a suicide bomb. Back in the 616, under Krakoa, the kids in Wrong Slide are working to save Amos and Cam, while hopefully stopping Orcus that are trying to drill into the walls of Krakoa to get to the pit. Fenris twins are back, because remember they left last issue, but they're back and they're wearing these bracelets that make them immune to the blight swill. The Wrong Slide collapses part of the cave to fall so that the rest of the New Mutants, who are still Blightswill infected, so they don't have their powers, can work together to get the special bracelets off of the Fenris twins. They get them, and then so with their powers back, they're able to get the upper hand in the fight. But the drill breaks through anyways, giving them access to the pit. Cliffhanger number 1. And then we see the Bishop is alive, and you realize it's because time was stopped. Tempo is cradling this Earth's version of her father's body, and she admits she tried to save him here too. So the reveal is that the human Heather that we found out existed in Earth 63 was actually our Tempo, like playing a part or disguised as her. Bishop consoles her the best he can. Some things just can't be fixed. She doesn't accept this, and with a flash of light, she fiddles with time yet again. So for those keeping track at home, still, no War College. There has not been a moment of War College in this series. He hasn't trained them at all.
That's like, why call it that?
Yeah. I feel like either of these stories could have been their own book. Oh, yeah. You either have a book about Bishop getting stuck on this other planet, and then you could actually flesh it out. You could you could build it in a way that the tempo reveal had more stakes to it, that
Mm-hmm.
maybe we cared more, and you could make it so you could actually tell which of the kids was which. Like in that fight scene, like half the time you had to go back and just base it off. Oh well, she's got purple glowy power, so I guess it's Cam or whatever. Like that's
Yeah.
I I want to like this. It's a bunch of characters I like, and I can't believe that we had so little happen. And on top of the interdimensional hijinks, they decided to introduce also time travel now. Like at the end of issue 4, heading into issue 5.
Yeah, there's one issue left.
And instead of actually fleshing out any of the stuff we've already seen that didn't make any sense, they decided to add. You know what this is? This is
Mm,
Marauders all over again.
it is. It's Marauders on top.
Poor Bishop. He's had 2 books in a row that have gone this route.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the pit's open.
Sure.
So presumably this is before Sins of Sinister. I don't know.
Um,
Or maybe it's after.
or maybe this is gonna sound awful, but maybe this book is just so unimportant that it doesn't matter that the pit got opened.
Well, I was gonna go there. What's it like? Why does Orcus want the pit open when they were the main villains of Sabretooth and the Exiles? So Orcus should be fully aware that the majority of the people that were in the pit have been let out now.
Right.
Like
There's
theoretically,
no
if this is after Sins of Sinister, Sinister's down there.
Right.
I think he's the only one, and if it's before Sins of Sinister, no one's down there currently.
Correct.
I don't get
It
it.
just doesn't make any sense. Like, honestly, like, it's okay. You're opening the pit. Great. Oh no. It's gonna get closed in 5 seconds, anyways.
Like, you could maybe like headcanon it away or like lampshade it with Graydon Creed doesn't share his intel that much or whatever. But if he's
Mhm.
not even a pedal, if he is less important than all of the pedals, then shouldn't someone be who he reports to? And it doesn't make sense that Orcus would be completely unaware of what has been happening in the pit.
Right.
Because they've been the main villains of the people who left the pit since they left the pit.
Yeah.
They know Sabretooth's not down there.
Exactly. It's a stupid decision.
I think I already mentioned it, but tempo reveal was completely unearned.
Completely unearned. I was like, okay.
Like the only reference we had to it was when they told him that this reality's Heather was actually human. He did like a huh, and then they moved on. And then now 2 issues later, it's revealed it wasn't really human. It was her in disguise trying to save the father she couldn't save on our planet. Get it? I do not understand any of what's happening here.
This book doesn't make sense to me. It feels, like you said, it feels like either story would be a better use of 5 issues instead of breaking both of these in half.
Yeah.
Because it's not enough to make me care about either.
I couldn't say it better myself. I talked about how Lethal Legion was one of the better of these filler books. This is not. This is not one of my. This might be my least favorite.
It might be.
I'm excited because we're gonna have our third pickhead as our guest for the 5th issue, hopefully, and hopefully he'll be able to sell us on why the book is better than I'm seeing it as. Because
Yeah, I want to see another point of view because I'm not getting it either. Hopefully someone can sell me on it. I'd love to be sold on it. Sell to me.
I want to throw that out there. That's the kind of guest, other than finally getting Al Jung to sit down so we can praise him. That is our number one priority when it comes to guests, is getting people that can really sell us on the opposite perspective we have. If someone wants to come defend Percy to me, I would love that. If someone wants to come talk down a Ewing or a Gillen issue to me and like convince me they're not the masterpieces I see them as, I'm all for it. I think I would struggle if someone wanted to get too rough on Cy Spurrier because I feel very protective of Legion of X right now. But I want that. So if you've got like a very divergent opinion from us and you want to come on for an episode, get in that Discord server, DM me, let me know. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I'd love it.
Here's one you and I may end up disagreeing pretty heavily on. You want to talk Storm?
Oh, let's talk Storm.
Written by Innocenti, drawn by Sid Kodian. This is another throwback, but I made it a full-blown book because I won't subject Innocenti to going around the Marvel Universe without at least covering issue 1. I love Innocenti. This all takes place around Uncanny X-Men 176, so we're talking 1983. Storm just switched to the mohawk and biker leather jacket look. Scott has just retired, so she's a full-blown leader of the X-Men for the very first time. It opens with Storm leading the team against the Brotherhood of Mutants in an amusement park. Colossus, Kitty Pryde, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and fresh off a face turn, Rogue all get some like classic quippy dialogue in while having some heavy exposition that, sets up Rogue's relationship with Destiny Mystique, Colossus and Kitty's relationship, and everything else with the current status quo. Storm gets upset with Kitty for not reacting quickly enough. Professor X is like a psychic creep. They go celebrate on the beach where Storm has issues controlling the ocean, and some anti-mutant jerks harass Kurt. Motorbike punk Storm rides solo and runs into a broken down scientist on a bike who reveals he has a potent pollution collecting machine. So they go for a casual ride together. When she gets back to the mansion, Kitty shows up with a drunk Rogue. They explicitly tell us underage Kitty doesn't drink. Storm is furious. She got a tattoo. She claims it's because a tattoo is an identifying mark and will harm the team, but obviously it's about so much more. Professor X sends Kitty to her room, and Storm's mad since she's supposed to be in charge. The news reveals storms are going crazy in the general vicinity where Storm had tried to control the ocean. She heads back to the docks where it's suddenly a full-blown hailstorm. She's attacked by a mysterious figure who claims to be protecting everyone from her storms, and the random crowd members believe him. She falls in the ocean and is quickly swept away, unable to control a damn thing. So we usually punt the random throwbacks. I think we both read them, maybe not with the same attention to detail. We pay attention to the Krakoa books, but we do read them. We read the Claremonts. This was better than anything Chris Claremont has written in
absolutely. This is my favorite of the throwbacks, but that is not a high bar.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'm of two minds because yes, this is some old school storytelling methods. It's exposition heavy to the absolute extreme. All those like awkward characters are explaining their motivations or their histories in ways that don't feel like real dialogue. It's really clear it's for the benefit of the reader. Leaves so little for like our imagination to fill in. I would be extremely annoyed if it wasn't evoking a specific era. But what to me makes it such a fun book that like I'm fully in. Like I wouldn't say it's in my top 20 books coming out right now, but it is something I really enjoy is the timing of it. I think the fact that this came out the same month that we got those two issues of X-Men Red and Immortal X-Men, and so we got this younger, trying way too hard Storm in like her first leadership role is such a great juxtaposition with everything that's been happening in Gillen and Ewing's work. Like the fact that this young woman who went full on like mohawk to separate herself and try to find her identity is the same woman who eventually 1,000 years from now, or no, I guess 100 years from now. What was the issue where she fell and sacrificed herself as the old woman in the wheelchair? I guess it would have been 100 years, right? It was year 100 of Sinister. It's so cool to me, and it felt like everything was tied in or will tie into what's happening in the current stuff because you're seeing her relationship with Kitty develop. You're seeing seeds set for her relationship with Colossus and Nightcrawler. And then even on the Brotherhood side, that Destiny and Mystique were the two members of the Brotherhood focused on. I feel like even though the style is a total throwback, it's really clear this story is going to, at the very, very least, be really thematically tied to the relationships we're seeing in the Krakoan current stuff, and I love that.
Absolutely. That is one thing that I really liked about this. I think it's part of what makes me like it better than the Claremont stuff, other than the fact that it's just written better than Claremont could ever try. It's the fact that it feels like it still counts for what we're experiencing in Krakoa. Because, like you said, it ties into what we just got. The last two were so flashback heavy on her relationship with Chuck that to get this series now, add a little extra context, it's very nice. I think that's great. I personally still don't like the exposition heavy stuff. Never have, never will.
I don't blame you. It definitely feels almost pandering. It's pandering to people much older than you and I. It's pandering to the people who actually grew up with this stuff. And that part is a bummer. But you know what it feels like? And I know this is probably a silly comparison. Remember like the era in like the early 2000s where it became really trendy for when you had a movie come out and they needed to have something for the special edition beyond the commentary, and they'd throw on like a 30-minute animated prequel, and it would be the same voice actors and it would be this like the same writing team, but it would have a very different tone because like the Hellboy movies had those. They had the little animated animated minis. Lots of movies did them, and they were really fun. And it's an era I kind of miss in streaming. You don't get those anymore. But that's what this feels like. It feels like a tie-in to what we're seeing currently that adds without being necessary. I don't think you need this context in Storm's character to appreciate what's going on in Krakoa, but it feels like it is meant to add to it in the same way that a lot of those like DVD special features or I guess now you probably get them through like social media stuff, but
yeah. It would be like the Marvel YouTube or TikTok or something being like, here's a primer on, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Or Marvel did do for a while with the MCU, and I think they stopped doing them, the one-shots where, like, before Thor came out, they had that 15-minute short of Agent Coulson finding Thor's hammer, like those sorts of things. And my favorite was the one where the fake Mandarin from Iron Man 3 was in prison, and then the real Mandarins, like goons, came and beat him up in prison to kind of give the reveal that there is a real Mandarin out there. That was a really fun. Anyways, that's a detour. But this is the comic book equivalent of those.
It feels very similar to that in just scope and purpose. And so, I guess at the end of the day, it's like I'm a fan of the content, just not necessarily the execution because of that exposition. But I think it was good. Like I'll enjoy continuing to read this and like reading Extreme or the Gambit and Storm
Extreme
one.
Was so bad.
It felt like a chore reading those. This will actually be more fun to read.
No, totally fair. I feel like this is the kind of one where like I like when we have a disagreement here on these are good. Something I think we can agree on. Chuck is still a jerk. Like this
still
is
a jerk.
Like it's funny when you go back, and even the era where he was supposed to be the heroic leader, and you're like, oh no, he was always a twat.
Yeah, I got a giggle out of like Chuck doing some curls in the gym. I don't know why, but that made me laugh because I was like, that
was definitely good.
Right.
That was definitely really funny, and the fact that it was the same general vibe when Kitty was like, "Can't you just read their minds?" And he was like, "Oh, that would be uncouth, or only when you really, really need to."
Yeah,
man, he sure has those blurry moral lines a lot where that's wrong to do. Unless I really need to, then it's cool.
Unless I just like super duper want to know what my friend said before he died.
Yeah. Yeah, my friend who I don't even call by his real name.
Yeah. My friend who I won't actually respect him to call him by his real name. And I know that he said, that he didn't want me to know what I said to you, but I want to know.
I will say, since we were talking last time we got together about kind of the allegorical stuff, like him dead naming his friend after his friend passed away was probably more fucked than like so much else happened in that issue. I feel like most readers kind of don't take the time to sit back and be like, it really is pretty screwed up that he's still in death, can't give him his name.
Yeah.
Anyways, I know this makes this a short episode, but are you ready to go around the Marvel Universe?
Let's do it.
Excellent number 3, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little conflicted still by putting this in around the Marvel Universe because I do really enjoy it. It's another outdated one, and I feel like if this had come out within a few years of the end of Ecstatics, and especially if this had come out last year with the first arc, I feel like that's another like they double cut off themselves at the feet. This would have impacted a lot more. Did you even read it? I know you struggled with the first 2 issues.
I read it. I still struggled with it. I want to like it because I know that you like it. So like I
Yeah.
want to like it, but I struggle with it. I will say everything with Docs felt very heavy-handed to me.
So I mean, it's kind of a kitschy like 50s robot
Yeah.
but I think part of the issue is Peter Milligan's a boomer. Let's be real. The guy's been in comics forever. Peter Milligan was born in 1961, so he's a 60-year-old man trying to write about like modern pop culture. So when he wrote Ecstatics in the early 2000s, it was commentary on reality TV. And he was in his early 40s then. He could properly satirize what was going on.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point the world has maybe moved a little too fast. And so it's a lot like the whole premise is they're fighting for more followers. Like it's which team can reach 1 million followers first. And there is some really funny stuff. Like this issue was a brawl on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and I legit cracked up at the line. The Hollywood Walk of Fame is more than just a sidewalk. It represents everything we stand for. Like that.
Like that right there is like the most washed up boomer mentality, which makes that funny, like in the comic. Right. But I'm like, I don't know how much that was supposed to be read as boomer energy rather than vain energy.
So I think there it was, but I feel like the problem is he's trying to put a lens on it at the same time that he's not able to escape it himself anymore. That he is the type of out of touch he's trying to parody to an extent, I think. And I think that does hurt the current volume.
Because to lampoon someone, you have to be able to point out why they're wrong. And if you are the person that you are lampooning, it's a lot more difficult. And I don't know that it's nailing it necessarily.
I don't think it is anymore. I do think that aspect of it has definitely lost its wheels.
Well, I was gonna say, like, one thing that like it sticks out to me is it feels a lot like in like crime procedurals that take place with internet stuff, and it felt like that energy where they're like, oh, this video already has 100,000 hits and all that kind of stuff. Oh, that means nothing. You just said nothing. And like they're fighting for 1 million followers. 1 million followers means jack shit nowadays.
Is it 1 million? I thought it was 1 billion, but yeah.
I thought you said 1 million, so I was going with
I think I just threw that number out there. I think it is 1 billion actually, but still, it's overall. I feel like it probably was impacted by the pandemic in that this probably. I mean, this was announced in 2018, which it would have been out of touch then, but at least then, like Twitter culture was still a thing. Like the world hadn't fully moved on to TikTok. I feel like what social media means has shifted in the last 5 years in a way that
in the last 2 years.
Yeah, this book probably lost a lot but even then it would have been slightly out of touch. Like this feels very much like a commentary that came out in like 2012.
Yeah,
like that's the honest crux of it was. He's writing a sequel to something that satirized the early 2000s really well. And if he'd followed up and done it in the early 2010s, I think it would have hit a lot better than it does in the early 2020s.
I have a former coworker who every 3 to 4 months, he tells me how much he thinks I should watch The Social Dilemma, and I should show The Social Dilemma to my students and all this kind of stuff. And like, this feels like something, like it feels like around that energy. I'm just like, hey man, you should really watch The Social Dilemma. It's eye-opening.
The last issue is gonna be like Zeitgeist 2012, like Coney 2012, like it's just gonna be totally.
Oh man.
Now that I said his name, I think Zeitgeist is a great character. Like I want to see him brought in to more like Brotherhood of Mutants, like whatever kind of the villainous mutants look like going forward. I think he is a really cool character. I think there's lots of pieces of this I'm still really enjoying.
Absolutely.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head that Milligan, he should be writing what he knows. I don't think he needs to be doing biting satire like he was 20 years ago, because he doesn't have the knowledge of the subject matter to do it. I'll read literally anything Mike Allred draws because I think his art is always amazing. That said, Storm is my book of the week. I told you that you might be surprised by it. Was the one I enjoyed the most. I wouldn't say it would win any other week, but it won this week. And a really weak week, Storm number 1 was my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. New Mutants being my favorite. Any other week, it's not going to win. But sure, why not today?
And I will say, next up on Shark Girl Week isn't that much better of a lineup, honestly. I don't know how Marvel did this, that they had a 5-week month in May, and they stacked the first 3 weeks and then had 2 weeks of duds, kind of.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, we are going to be talking about Deadpool 7, which I genuinely really like. And
I'm excited for Deadpool 7. I'm calling it right now. That's probably going to be my book of the week.
Yeah. Well, spoiler, we've already read them, but also it fits the beach vibe. I feel like Deadpool 7 is the most beach vibe of any books we've read this week. Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain, number 4, which, spoiler, maybe in competition with Bishop at this point. Like, I don't know. I'm not loving. And then X-23, Deadly Regenesis, which is my girl, but is also... We're gonna make it fun. We're gonna have fun even with some books.
We'll have fun. We'll figure it out.
But speaking of Short Girl Week, we're like halfway through it. We reopened our shop. It's in the link. There's fun summary stuff. And we still have a couple to record after you see this. Maybe not. We might be just about done recording. But jump in the Discord, DM us, hit us with your questions. We're going to keep the beach vibes going all summer. It's not like summer ends when vacation's over.
That's true.
If you got a question, shoot it our way. Until next time, don't be a boomer. Oh, no. I got to do all the likes. You follow me at That Nerdy Papa Bear. You can follow him at Bulk Ranger. Anything you'd like to say?
No, I think I'm good.
Remember, don't be a boomer.